Hi, you guys. I have missed you. It is wonderful to be back. If you're new to my work or really haven't checked out what I'm about, I would love to guide you to my website, themodernshaman.net. All right, well, it has been a while since I have connected with you guys, and it's kind of been on my heart to get back on here. And many of you know, if you follow me on my social sites, that I have just gotten back from a long trip in Peru and Bolivia. And since I was there were just many connections, initiations, and activations that happened within sacred sites. And so it's been kind of on my heart to share that energy with that I picked up and the information that I was given. And really, when someone goes to a sacred site, sits on that energetic plateau and absorbs the frequencies and the vibrations of those peoples and is able to connect to the dimensional planes in which those people still exist, I feel like we download and we receive so much information, and part of that is an energetic resonance and vibration. And as I began to resonate with that frequency on those particular sacred sites in Peru and Bolivia, I had the desire to come back and then vocally share my experience, because so much of that sharing, also through the vocal cords and the throat chakra, amplifies that energy out. And so I feel a bit like a beacon or an antenna right now, having just come off this month-long trip to sacred sites. And I want to amplify that energy out to those of you guys who are also able to receive, because I do believe that this is part of the way that the communication energetically is still felt and able to vibrationally up-level those that are on this earth and picking up on those activations. This is part of our sacred evolutionary path, and part of why sacred sites are still being found and still being used for activations. So that's my desire with this video today, and I hope that you open your heart to receive, much like a walkie-talkie with a two-way wave signal, that I can amplify out all that I received, and you can receive in and align with those codes. So may it be a blessing to those who are open. So the first site that I would love to share with you guys is Tiwanaku. And I have felt called to sacred sites starting probably about 15 years ago. Spirit started putting certain geolocations just on my heart. They would give me vision around it and basically say, go here. And when you are here, we will tell you what to do. And so I have been doing that on my own, in my own personal spiritual evolution, going to certain places. Ireland was the first place that I was guided to go to, a certain mountain range there and the Connemara Mountains. And anyhow, that's another story for another time, another video. But that was a while back. And then there was Turkey, and then there was Egypt. And then this summer, just a bit ago, was South America, Peru and Bolivia. And I knew that I was to realign and reconnect with ancient aspects of myself. That's why I was told to go there. And Tiwanaku is a large ceremonial site. Now, they call them ceremonial sites mostly because when the civilizations were there, they knew that the site was aligned, the megalithic stones. It has very tall, kind of like Stonehenge, megalithic stones that are standing upright like this, and they're in rectangles. Centric rectangles, so larger ones and then ones within it, and ones that are sunken within that. And The top ones are, you have to go up step pyramids to see them. So very high up, and you go up the step pyramids, and at the top are these concentric megalithic stones, standing stones. And the Tiwanaku culture, which existed maybe 1,000 years ago, built their own kind of stones inside of the megalithic stones to kind of make it walled in instead of just standing stones with space in between them. In rectangles, they filled in the gaps, and so you can see smaller stones filled in to create these concentric ceremonial spaces. And I will tell you that in my connection, when I meditate with the culture that was there, or that is still there in different dimensional planes, it is a living space. It is not, I think when we say ceremonial site, we think of it like a temple or a church, because we don't really have a language around that now to understand the way that their civilizations were integrating the use of light and channeled energy, or channeled light, like photonic light, from different astronomical alignments. So each of the megalithic stones that are kind of like these tall, I'm doing this because that's what I see in my head, very tall, you know, probably like 20 feet stones, tall stones. They're probably even larger than that because they go so far into the earth to even stay standing like this. They're each aligned to certain constellations and planetary alignments, and the light from those planetary alignments or constellations will hit that stone and absorb in the andesite, which is, like I said, a very high, like highly dense, hard stone. It will absorb that light and that energy and essentially kind of be a portal to that planetary alignment. So they were utilizing that and integrating that in with their lifestyle, with their crops, with the way that they filtered their water. It wasn't just done as like something for the mind or the soul to connect on a higher level plane like we think of today. Their sacred and their secular spaces were part of their living. They slept outside of the ceremonial space, just kind of in shelters. But the everyday use of these things were not just done to like worship a god like we think of. They were done to integrate the energies available from the solar system, from the astronomical alignments, into their everyday life. So to help them with their language, to help them with their, like I said, crops and the size of the crops, the potency of the crops, the health of their people, the health of the crops. So it was very integrated. And this was done all over the earth. It's kind of been a forgotten way of living, not so much a forgotten science or a forgotten technology, but a forgotten way of living. So anyways, this site in particular has 3 different main levels that I received activations on. One is the sunken level. They have a sunken ceremonial site where it kind of goes down into the earth, and it's supposed to be connected with the underworld. The sunken site was connected with their underworld, or their understanding of what happens after we die. So it's known as the mediumship or the channeling. And you may have seen images of this, but there's about 180 little stone heads that are carved into different faces. They all are different. My first connection was in this sunken ceremonial space. And this was a very earthy connection, I can say. Very grounded, earthy, slow frequency, lower frequency in connection with the earth. So I'm speaking now a bit slower. And would love to share that with you. The message essentially that I received from inside was that we are still here. And it's interesting when you receive messages and you channel from higher dimensional beings. The messages are usually pretty simple. The energy, however, is not. It is very complex. But the language in which Spirit speaks is offered to humanity in a very accessible way. And so it comes off simple. The energy carries layers with it. So there are multidimensional layers that often to me feel like vellum paper, like laid on top of each other, like tracing paper. And in my clairvoyance and clairsentience, I can kind of feel how thick those layers are, or like pastry paper. And so there are many layers to that. We are still here. And essentially that message has been reiterated over many peoples in that ceremonial space. And so the potency of it, because people would go into that site to sit and connect with their ancestors, because it was a sunken pyramid associated with mediumship and the underworld and when people die. And wanting to connect with their loved ones or their ancestor groups, which are portrayed in those stones, and still have connection. And so the potency of that energy over eons of it being used for mediumship channels, for connections with ancestors, was so strong and so deep and so present that the awareness of we are still here, if you can receive that, this is my everyday life as a medium and as a channel, but for you watching this video, maybe you haven't connected with a past loved one or an ancestor, but that their living presence is still active and still here. And that was the simple and yet profound energetic message. So I would love to just share that through my eyes with you now. If you can do some eye gazing, essentially as that window or portal from soul to soul, and receive the energetic download of that message given to me in the sunken ceremonial site at Tiwanaku. And it's my encouragement to you, and I'm hearing the reminder from Spirit right now. If you are open to receive, please move into a posture of receptivity, which is palms facing upward on your lap, kind of like this. I am open to receive. This message comes in through the heart chakra and the solar plexus chakra. So if your belly and your chest are being activated right now, you'll feel that kind of warm, tingling sensation if you have clairsentient psychic sense, just feeling energy in the non-physical aspects of the body. And when you feel like you have received that energetically, flip your palms facing down and put them on the ground, kind of ground out that energy so it doesn't short out your system and give you a headache. Placing your palms now like this onto the ground as you're sitting. So the next layer, or the middle layer of the ceremonial Tiwanaku site, had the standing stones. And I went to that layer and I laid the back of my body against one of the stones that I felt called to. And I spread my legs open so that my sacral chakra would be able to kind of connect and channel energy through that soul star chakra, which is kind of underneath us. And then up through the root into my body. And then I felt kind of this funnel coming out of my head. And the message here is, I said, I heard a voice, and it was a female voice speaking in unison. When I hear voices speak in unison, it is a collective speaking. So it's as if there's a chorus. You notice biblically a lot of times they'll say there was a chorus of angels here. Essentially, they're communicating that they're speaking with a collective. And a lot of times the collectives will use the pronoun we, and there's kind of this understood group speaking in oneness, but it is not a singular individual. And so there was a group collective consciousness speaking through a female, and I say female because it had a feminine energy to it. And it had the association with the Pleiadian star system and the Seven Sister star system. And this connection, as she came in, I said, "Who am I speaking to?" And she said, "We are you." And I understood this to mean we are human, not a alien species, because I felt that they were far away, or they were an alien species having come down here and come to the Tiwanaku site and help kind of get things started. But instead, she corrected me and said, "We are you." And I said, "Well, aren't you from the Pleiadian star system, And she said, "Yes, but we are human. We just remember who we are." And then she showed me the human DNA in her system that was mirrored in our system, in our DNA. And the DNAs look the same. There's like two strands, like a double helix strand that they put into my psychic vision. And it was like, oh, they're the same as us. But she made it clear that they just haven't forgotten. And she showed me that what we call junk DNA, or the DNA that we don't know how to decode, or we don't know what it's there for, is our remembrance, or knowing where we originated from. And she showed me that the way that they view a life is from the origination planet, like before we came to Earth, and that each lifetime that we have is kind of like a chapter in a book, but it's not considered a lifetime. That a lifetime is the origination point and the circle back to that origination point. It's just a circle. It's not like a beginning and an end. And each lifetime on Earth is a chapter in that original point, which is why so many people feel a sense of like, I have a purpose, I know I have a mission, that purpose and that mission comes from the origination point. Which for her was this example of the Pleiadian, from the Pleiadian star system, and then having come to Earth and Tiwanaku and had lifetimes here, still present and is still having lifetimes here, as our humanity, like me and other people that are on the Earth, and then we will come back to that origination point. So it was just like a lifetime, but again, they viewed lifetimes as one life with many deaths and births in it, and different timelines. But the only difference was that she remembered who she was, and we do not. That has been kind of tinkered with in our DNA, and we have lost our ability to remember, but that is coming back. And part of what she shared with me was this download and activation of having our origination point and our original purpose and mission, and that kind of beginning, even though it isn't the beginning, it's a circle, coming back and being reintegrated into the human DNA. So an up-leveling of that DNA. And I would like to share that with you, that we are human. We just remember who we are. And they are still here on that same space, and they are still able to be connected with. So I would love to share that energy with you now. Again, through my eyes. If you can hold that mental mantra of we are you. Placing your hands upward on your thighs, open to receive. We are you. We just remember. We are human. We just remember. And this is a higher level activation coming in through the third eye, if you can feel that. There might be a pressure in the center of your pituitary and pineal gland, the dead center of your skull. So just let it kind of bleed out into your ears, stretching wide. Very well. And once you have finished receiving, say thank you. Flip your hands back over, put them on the ground, and kind of ground out that energy again so you don't fritz out your system, get a headache. Kind of ground the energy body. Okay. And the final message that I would love to share came from the higher platform. Remember, there are 3 levels: the underworld, the middle world, and the upper. And that was where the sun gate is. Many of you have probably seen that. It's a kind of cut H that stands upright in the ground. It's cut from one piece of andesite, and it has Viracocha carved into the top of it. And all of these astronomical markings, like a calendar, on the top, and it is aligned with the solstice and letting the sun move through that gate on the solstice. And so I received that message, essentially, that was purely energetic and light form connected, to where the image that I was shown was standing in a line with the gate, with the sun kind of hovering right above the crown chakra, right here on the head, making sort of a halo and a funnel into the higher dimensional planes, and lighting and bringing on a higher level of like a higher level of rainbow light, as if we were able to see a higher spectrum of light, which I do believe is coming. And as this is coming into humanity, this is how we will also be able to visually access higher dimensional planes of existence, which we are a part of, but do not always see in our visible light spectrum. So for those who have eyes to see, I would love to share this with you. And this is an activation right above the crown. So keep your body very still. Place your hands upward now on your thighs. Again, body very still like a statue, and just focus on this area right above the hair follicles. So you might feel some tingling on the head, but it's right here. There we go. And be open to a beam of rainbow looking light directed right above the head. And then like a spotlight, let it open. I see the light. I receive the light. I am the light. Wonderful. Okay, that is all for this video because I know it's run on with time. I will be back and I will share more activations from the other sacred sites in Peru and Bolivia. Blessings, you guys. We'll be back here next week with another video.